My beautiful friends, what I'm about to share with you tonight will not only challenge everything you thought you knew about how reality works, it will give you hope in a way you may have forgotten was possible. Hidden within the fabric of consciousness itself lies a secret so profound, so immediate in its power, that 17 seconds, just 17 heartbeats, can become the bridge between the life you're living and the life your soul has been crying out for. This isn't theory. This isn't wishful thinking. This is a precise spiritual technology that operates according to laws as reliable as gravity itself. And tonight, you're going to discover exactly how to use it. But first, let me ask you something from my heart to yours. Have you ever had a moment, maybe just a fleeting second, where you felt so absolutely certain about something beautiful that hadn't happened yet? A moment where every cell in your body knew, beyond any shadow of doubt, that what you desired was already yours. If you have, then you've already glimpsed the miracle I'm talking about. You've already touched the edge of this 17-second gateway to everything your heart has ever wanted. Imagine, if you will, that all around you right now exists a field of pure potential. Every possible version of your life, every dream you've ever dared to dream, every solution to every problem you've ever faced, all of it exists right here, right now, in what quantum physicists call the field of infinite possibilities. Most people spend their entire lives unaware of this field, trapped in what I call the prison of circumstances, believing that what they see, hear, and touch is all there is. They've been taught to accept lack, to settle for less, to believe that their dreams are too big, too impossible, too much to ask for. But you, by the very fact that you're here tonight, seeking this knowledge, refusing to give up on your dreams, you're different. You sense there's more. Your soul knows there's a deeper game being played, and you're ready to step up and play it. The 17-second method is your key to this field. It's your access code to the quantum realm, where miracles are not only possible, they're inevitable. Now here's something that will astound you. Neuroscientists have discovered that when you maintain a coherent thought or feeling for exactly 17 seconds, something extraordinary happens in your brain. Your neural networks begin to fire in harmony. Your brain waves synchronize into what they call gamma coherence, the same state experienced by Tibetan monks during deep meditation, the same state reported by mystics throughout history during moments of divine revelation. But here's the part that will truly amaze you. In this state, your brain becomes a powerful electromagnetic transmitter. You're literally broadcasting your thoughts and feelings into the quantum field. And according to the fundamental laws of quantum mechanics, the field must respond. It has no choice. Think about this for a moment. The ancient masters spoke of this power thousands of years ago. They called it prayer, or manifestation, or the power of faith. Now modern science is confirming what they knew all along. Consciousness isn't produced by the brain. Consciousness uses the brain as a transmitting device. My dear friends, what I'm about to share with you isn't just a technique. It's a love letter from the universe to your heart. It's your personal invitation to step into the life you've been dreaming of, the life that's been waiting patiently for you to claim it. I know some of you listening tonight are carrying heavy hearts. Perhaps you've been struggling financially, watching others prosper while you barely make ends meet. Maybe you're lying awake at night, wondering if you'll ever find someone who truly understands and cherishes you. Perhaps you're battling illness, feeling betrayed by your own body, or maybe you're simply tired of dreams deferred, tired of hopes that seem to lead nowhere, tired of feeling powerless in your own life. If any of this resonates with you, I want you to know you are not alone, and you are not forgotten. The universe hasn't abandoned you. Your dreams aren't foolish. Your desires aren't too big. What you're about to learn can change everything. Not someday, but starting tonight. Step 1. Creating your sacred space. Close your eyes for a moment and imagine with me. Picture in your mind a beautiful sacred space, perhaps a garden where everything blooms in perfect harmony, or a cozy room filled with golden light, or maybe a peaceful lakeside where the water reflects infinite possibilities. This is your sacred space, and it exists beyond the reach of bills, beyond the sting of rejection, beyond the fear of illness, beyond every limitation that has ever made you feel small. In this sacred space, miracles aren't rare, they're the natural order of things. In this space, your worthiness isn't questioned, it's celebrated. Here, your dreams aren't too big. They're exactly the right size for the magnificent soul that you are. Take a deep breath and feel yourself entering this space now. Feel the peace washing over you. Feel the love that surrounds you. This is where your 17 seconds will unfold. Step 2, awakening the feeling. Now, my beautiful friend, we come to the heart of everything. Forget what you've been taught about visualization. Forget trying to create perfect mental movies. The secret, the most precious secret, is feeling, but not just any feeling. The exact feeling you would have if your deepest desire were your reality right now, in this very moment. If you're struggling with money, I want you to feel something beautiful. Feel the deep exhale of relief when you truly know that you're provided for. Feel the lightness in your chest when financial stress dissolves. Feel the joy of being able to help someone you love, the warmth of generosity flowing through you like sunshine. Let tears of gratitude fill your eyes as you feel what it's like to sleep peacefully, knowing tomorrow is taken care of. If your heart aches for love, don't focus on finding someone. Instead, feel yourself as deeply, completely cherished. Feel arms that hold you with such tenderness that every lonely night you've ever endured suddenly makes sense. It was all leading to this moment, this love, this perfect recognition of your worth. Feel the laughter bubbling up from deep within as you experience the joy of loving and being loved without condition. If illness has made your body feel like a stranger, feel into the miracle of perfect health. Feel energy coursing through every cell. Feel your body as a trusted friend again. Feel the confidence that comes with a body that serves you beautifully. The gratitude for breath that flows freely, for movement that brings joy instead of pain. Whatever your heart desires most, feel it as if it's happening right now. Not as a memory of the past or a hope for the future, but as your present reality. Let this feeling fill you so completely that you forget, just for these precious moments, that there was ever a time when you didn't have this. Step 3, the 17 sacred seconds. Here we are, my dear ones. This is your moment. This is where ordinary life transforms into extraordinary possibility. With your heart full of the feeling of your wish fulfilled, begin your journey through these 17 sacred heartbeats. Allow yourself to settle into this beautiful feeling, like sinking into the warmest, most comfortable embrace you've ever known. Breathe deeply and feel this reality washing over you like gentle waves of pure love. You're not pretending anymore, my dear friend. This is your life, and every cell in your being is recognizing this truth and celebrating it. Let yourself sink even deeper into this knowing, feeling how perfectly natural it is for you to have everything your heart desires. Allow gratitude to flow through you like honey through your veins, sweet and golden and nourishing. You are living your dream right now, in this very moment, and it feels so right, so perfect, so absolutely meant to be. Feel how you belong here, in this space of fulfillment and joy. This is what you were born for. This is your natural state of being. Notice how beautifully this fits you, how natural this feels, like putting on clothes that were tailored just for your soul. Let any whisper of doubt melt away like snow in warm sunshine, because you are worthy of this, and so much more than you've ever dared to imagine. Feel the infinite love the universe has for you, wrapping around you like the softest blanket of light. You are not asking any more. You are receiving with open arms and an open heart. This is your birthright, beautiful soul, so claim it with joy and confidence. Feel the magnificent power of your own consciousness, creating this reality. Feel yourself as the artist painting this masterpiece of your life. This is yours, completely and forever yours, sealed with the love of the universe itself. In these 17 seconds, something sacred happens. You're not the person who wants anymore. You're the person who has. You're not the person who hopes. You're the person who knows. You're not the person who struggles. You're the person who flourishes. Feel this transformation in every fiber of your being. Let it move you to tears if it wants to. Let it make you smile like you haven't smiled in years. Let it fill you with such peace, such certainty, such overwhelming gratitude that you know, beyond any shadow of doubt, that your life is about to change. And here's where the real magic begins. If you can extend that feeling to 34 seconds, just 17 seconds more, the momentum doubles. The quantum field receives an even stronger signal. Your brain creates even deeper neural pathways. You're literally rewiring your consciousness for success. At 68 seconds, the power quadruples. You're now generating what scientists call sustained gamma coherence, a state so powerful that it begins to influence not just your own quantum field, but the quantum field around you. And if you can reach 136 seconds, just over 2 minutes, something miraculous occurs. You create what I call quantum momentum. At this point, your manifestation isn't just probable, it becomes inevitable. The universe literally cannot help but respond to the signal you're broadcasting. Now you might wonder, why 17 seconds specifically? Why not 15 or 20? The answer lies in the deepest mysteries of consciousness itself. 17 seconds is the exact amount of time required for a thought to move from the realm of pure possibility into the realm of probability. It's the gestation period of manifestation. Think of it as the amount of time needed for a seed of consciousness to take root in the quantum field. Ancient wisdom traditions understood this. The Kabbalah speaks of the 17 paths of wisdom. Hindu scriptures mention the 17 breaths of creation. Indigenous shamans talk about the 17 heartbeats of transformation. They all intuited what modern science is now proving. 17 is the sacred number of manifestation. Now I must address something that will inevitably arise in your mind. Doubt. As you practice this method, your rational mind will protest. It will say, this is impossible. This is just wishful thinking. Where's the evidence? This is what I call the doubt barrier. And every conscious creator must learn to transcend it. Doubt isn't your enemy. It's simply the voice of your conditioned mind, the part of you that's been programmed to believe only in limitations. When doubt arises during your 17 seconds, don't fight it. Simply acknowledge it with compassion. Thank you, doubt, for trying to protect me. But I choose to explore what's possible beyond your boundaries. Then gently return to your feeling of the wish fulfilled. Remember, every great achievement in human history required someone to move beyond the doubt barrier. The Wright brothers doubted that humans could fly, until they didn't. Einstein doubted that time and space were relative, until he didn't. You have that same power to transcend doubt and step into the impossible. Here's something beautiful that will happen as you practice this method consistently. What I call the acceleration effect. The more you successfully hold the feeling of your wish fulfilled for 17 seconds, the easier it becomes. Your brain literally develops new neural pathways that make manifestation more natural. It's like building a muscle. The first time you try to hold that feeling for 17 seconds, it might feel awkward, forced. Your mind might wander. That's perfectly normal. But each time you practice, you're strengthening your manifestation muscle. You're becoming a more powerful conscious creator. Within a week of daily practice, you'll notice that 17 seconds feels effortless. Within a month, extending to 68 seconds becomes natural. Within 3 months, you'll discover that you can slip into manifestation consciousness at will, anywhere, anytime. And here's perhaps the most fascinating aspect of this work. As you change your inner state through these 17-second practices, your outer world begins to reshape itself in ways that will astound you. Opportunities that were always there suddenly become visible. People who can help you with your desires mysteriously appear in your life. Resources you need become available. Synchronicities multiply. It's as if the entire universe is conspiring to help you achieve your desires. But understand this clearly. The universe isn't changing for you. You're changing your frequency, your vibration, your quantum signature, and therefore you're perceiving and attracting a different version of the universe. One that was always there, waiting for you to tune into it. Once you've mastered the basic 17-second method, There are several advanced techniques that can amplify your power exponentially. Number 1. The Gratitude Amplifier. Before beginning your 17 seconds, spend a moment in deep gratitude for something you already have. This raises your vibrational frequency and makes your manifestation signal even more powerful. Number 2. The Identity Shift. Instead of focusing on having what you want, focus on being the kind of person who naturally possesses what you desire. This creates deeper, more lasting transformation. Number 3. The Present Moment Portal. Practice your 17 seconds as if your desire is happening right now in this very moment. The quantum field exists only in the eternal now, so this technique creates the most direct connection. Number 4. The Sensory Immersion. Engage all your senses in your 17 seconds. What would you see, hear, feel, smell, even taste if your desire were your reality right now? The more senses you involve, the more real it becomes to your subconscious mind. There's one quality that separates successful manifestors from unsuccessful ones. Certainty. Not hope, not belief, not faith, but absolute, unshakable certainty. When you can feel certain about something that hasn't happened yet, when you can be as confident in your unseen desire as you are in the chair you're sitting on, then you've accessed the deepest level of manifestation power. This certainty isn't based on evidence, it's based on knowing. It's the same knowing that tells you the sun will rise tomorrow, that your heart will beat again in the next moment. It's beyond logic, beyond proof. It simply is. During your 17 seconds, cultivate this certainty. Feel it in your bones. Let it permeate every cell of your being. This is your desire's reality. This is your truth. This is what is. My friends, you stand at a crossroads tonight. Behind you lies the old way of living. Hoping, wishing, struggling against circumstances, feeling powerless. Ahead of you lies a new way of being, consciously creating, deliberately manifesting, living as the master of your fate. The bridge between these two realities is 17 seconds. Just 17 seconds of pure, focused feeling. 17 seconds of living in the end result. 17 seconds of being the person you desire to become. The choice is yours. You can listen to these words and let them fade into mere memory. Or you can take this knowledge and transform it into wisdom through practice. You can become living proof that consciousness is the only reality, that imagination is the creative power of the universe itself. Tonight, before you close your eyes to sleep, I want you to make a sacred promise to yourself. Choose one desire, just one beautiful, important desire, that would genuinely transform your life, or touch the lives of those you love with joy. Maybe it's freedom from the financial stress that keeps you awake at night. Maybe it's the healing your body has been waiting for. Maybe it's finding someone who sees the real you and loves every part of what they find. Maybe it's the creative breakthrough that's been calling to your soul. Whatever it is, choose it with love. Choose it with hope. Choose it knowing that the universe is conspiring in your favor. Create your sacred space. Feel yourself surrounded by infinite love and possibility. Establish your feeling tone. Not the feeling of wanting, but the feeling of having, of being, of celebrating what is already yours in the realm of consciousness. Begin your 17-second journey. And as you count those precious moments, remember that you're not just practicing a technique. You're exercising your divine birthright as a conscious creator. You're stepping into the truth of who you really are. Feel what it would feel like if this desire were already fulfilled. Not tomorrow, not next week, not someday, right now, in this eternal moment, where all possibilities exist simultaneously. Let that feeling wash over you, like the most beautiful music you've ever heard. Let it fill you so completely that there's no room for doubt, no space for fear, no possibility that this isn't already yours. I make you this sacred promise. If you practice this method faithfully, if you give it the love and dedication it deserves, your life will begin to transform in ways that will move you to tears of gratitude. What seems impossible today will become your joyful reality tomorrow. What feels like a distant dream will become the life you wake up to every morning. The 17-second method isn't just a manifestation technique. It's a love song between you and the universe. It's your personal invitation to step into the fullness of who you really are, a magnificent, powerful, beloved co-creator of reality itself. The moment has come to stop living as someone who wishes and start living as someone who receives. The moment has come to stop asking, "What if I'm not worthy?" and start declaring, "I am worthy of all the love, abundance, and joy the universe has to offer." Your 17 seconds of pure magic await you. Your new reality is just one focused, loving feeling away. The universe is not only listening, it's celebrating your decision to claim what has always been yours. The quantum field isn't just responsive. It's excited to deliver your desires. Your consciousness isn't just ready. It's rejoicing in its own creative power. This isn't about whether you deserve it, you do. This isn't about whether you're good enough, you are. This isn't about whether it's possible, it is. The only question that remains is, what beautiful reality will you choose to create? Your transformation doesn't begin tomorrow. It doesn't begin next week. It begins with your next breath, with your next heartbeat, with your next choice to believe in the magnificent possibility of your dreams. Feel the excitement building in your chest. Feel the hope returning to your heart. Feel the power awakening in your consciousness. This is your moment. This is your time. This is your beautiful beginning. The time is now. Your power is real. Your desires are not just possible, they're inevitable. Close your eyes, take a deep breath, and begin your journey into everything you've ever wanted. You are loved. You are worthy. You are ready. Begin.
Do you know someone who gets angry, anxious, or upset over the smallest things? A surprising number of people have trouble restraining their emotions, especially during periods of stress and uncertainty. When something doesn't go their way, they get overwhelmed by extreme feelings like rage or distress, transforming even the most minor conflicts into damaging and embarrassing situations. For example, let's say you're debating with someone about a subject you both care about, like sports or politics. All you want to do is make your point, but the other person seems to be getting angrier and angrier. Perhaps they raise their voice or make derogatory comments about you or your beliefs. What starts as a friendly debate escalates into swearing, name-calling, and personal criticisms. Why? Because not everyone knows how to control their emotions. When they hear something they don't like, many people react impulsively, like a wave of frustration and volatility is crashing onto their heads. These people may be prone to feelings of defensiveness, as if any opposition is an insult to their character. They might become angry that people aren't validating their ideas, or because they're struggling to communicate exactly what they mean. Once these emotions start swirling in their heads, they're likely to make bad decisions. They may become desperate to get their way, damaging their relationships and hurting the people they care about. Only after the dust settles do they realize the damage they've done. If you find yourself in a similar situation where your emotions are tested, how can you prevent your emotions from spiraling out of control? In this video, we're going to discuss 12 powerful habits anyone can use to master what's known as non-reacting. The basic idea is simple. By recognizing extreme emotions and delaying impulsive reactions, you can make good decisions when it matters most. These habits will help you do just that. Many of these tricks and techniques are employed by highly disciplined people every single day. Like exercising physical muscles, it takes time and consistent effort to build real emotional discipline. But with these everyday habits, you'll learn to control your emotions and navigate any situation with patience and composure. Number 1. Chemical countdown. When you experience an emotional conflict, chemicals rush into your brain that motivate extreme reactions and impulsive behaviors. If you want to control your emotions, you need to wait for that rush of chemicals to disappear before taking action. One simple trick is to close your eyes and count to 5. During those 5 seconds, the chemicals in your brain will slow down enough to see your situation clearly. I know it sounds simple, but those 5 seconds can spare you from years of impulsiveness and regret. Number 2, find your roots. When you feel strong emotions bubbling up inside you, try searching for the root of the problem. In other words, ask yourself why you might be feeling the way you're feeling. If you're impulsively angry about something someone said, ask yourself why their comment triggered such a strong emotional reaction. This habit immediately changes your perspective, forcing you to step back and analyze your emotions from the outside. This instantly puts you in a position of emotional control, and it reveals what's really causing your distress. Often, the source of a feeling isn't what it appears. Once you find it, you can face the actual problem without doing damage to yourself or others. Number 3, sources of resentment. Many of us have a bad habit of stewing on feelings of anger or resentment. Let's say you have an argument with a friend. You both walk away feeling hurt and irritated, but instead of expressing those feelings and finding a solution, you allow your anger inside you to simmer and grow. Over time, you may even lose track of why you were angry in the first place. The longer you wait to resolve these feelings, the harder it becomes to make those emotions go away. This is true of many negative emotions, like sadness or embarrassment. Ignoring these feelings can create lasting emotional turmoil, so speak up and resolve your feelings before it's too late. Number 4, name your emotions. We often struggle to control our emotions because we don't really know what we're feeling. All we recognize is a swirling cloud of thoughts and feelings. Our emotions become muddled and frustrating, so we seek immediate relief instead of understanding what's going wrong. In situations like this, try naming your emotions. As soon as you feel something bubbling up inside you, ask yourself, what exactly am I feeling? Am I angry or sad, impatient or embarrassed? Once you put a name to your emotions, they become smaller, simpler, and easier to understand. Number 5, manage your stress. Stress has a significant effect on your emotional state. When you're stressed, your patience and discipline wear thin. It feels like the world is crashing down all around you, and minor things may trigger extreme emotional outbursts and irrational decisions. Any kind of stress can impact your emotional state, so make a habit of relieving some stress every day. There are plenty of stress-relieving activities out there, like writing, meditation, and exercise. Any of these habits, if practiced regularly, may lower your stress levels, making it much easier to process and control your emotions. Number 6, opportunities for expression. Many people lose control of their emotions because they don't allow themselves to express how they really feel. Men especially stuff their feelings down and pretend everything's fine until the day their emotions suddenly explode outward. This is when extreme emotions do the most damage to you and the people in your life. For your own sake, don't let your emotions fester in the back of your mind. Create opportunities to express your emotions on a regular basis. Write in a journal, talk with a loved one, or sit down with a mental health professional. Make self-expression a normal part of your routine, and you'll begin to understand yourself a whole lot better. Number 7, channel your feelings. Talking or writing aren't the only way to express emotions. You can also channel those feelings into activities like physical sports or creative hobbies. These activities occupy your mind and channel your energy in a way that brings calm and clarity. For example, if you're caught up in a stressful situation, you might try singing at the top of your lungs. There are dozens of activities like singing that release your feelings and change your state of mind. Find one that suits your interests. That way, you can channel your emotions into something constructive. Number 8, the empathy routine. When you're angry at someone, try thinking about your situation from their point of view. You may feel like you've been wronged, but it's possible the other person feels the same way. They might be in a challenging position, or like you, struggling to understand why they feel the way they feel. In either case, practicing empathy can neutralize extreme emotions and help the two of you find common ground. Even if you're not actively upset, this is a great habit for expanding your emotional intelligence. Practicing empathy challenges you to reflect on your feelings, question your assumptions, and approach every situation with a calm and collected state of mind. Number 9, possess your emotions. Are you ashamed of your emotions? Too many people avoid responsibility for their genuine feelings because they're embarrassed or ashamed to feel them. If someone asks you how you're feeling, you might pretend everything's okay and hide your emotions from the world. But this only deepens your emotional turmoil. When you're feeling overwhelmed, take responsibility for your emotions because there's nothing shameful about how you feel. Number 10, the boiling point. Even if you learn to control your emotions, you may be too upset to hold those emotions inside you. Some people call this the boiling point. It's the moment just before your feelings bubble up and explode. If you want to control your emotions, get to know your boiling point so that you never do or say something you regret. When you're almost over the edge, remove yourself from the situation and give yourself time to cool off. Number 11, create your mantra. Sometimes, when you're feeling strong emotions, it helps to remind yourself what you're working toward or what kind of person you want to be. A simple mantra or a meaningful phrase can help you find perspective and rise above negative emotions like anger or frustration. These feelings might be strong in the moment, but when you think about what really matters, it's easier to maintain control. It may take some time to find a mantra that's unique and special to you. There are all kinds of mantras out there, but often the powerful mantras are the ones you create for yourself. A few repetitions of this meaningful phrase can relieve stress, provide clarity, and remind you what's really important. Number 12, the power of breath. Many disciplined people have developed incredible patience and willpower using the simple power of their breath. You've probably heard about breathing exercises to relieve stress or anxiety, but why does breathing affect your emotional state? The first half of your breath, the inhale, influences your sympathetic nervous system, which controls your fight or flight response. Stopping for a deep breath of air dissuades impulsive behavior in favor of more logical decisions. The second half, the exhale, comes from your parasympathetic nervous system, which affects your ability to relax and calm down. Simply exhaling a breath of air can pacify negative feelings, giving you a sense of calm and control. Whenever your emotions are spiraling out of control, take a deep breath in and out. This simple exercise may be all you need to control your emotions and change your state of mind. Do you find it difficult sometimes to control your emotions? Leave a comment below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and share it with others. Thanks for watching. Have an absolutely amazing day.
What if I told you that your money is already trying to communicate with you right now? That before a single dollar shows up in your bank account, your wealth sends you messages through a secret language most people completely ignore. I'm going to share with you 6 unmistakable signs that money is racing toward you at this very moment. And the final sign will completely change how you see reality itself. Stay with me because by the end of this video, you'll never miss these signals again. Let me ask you something. Have you ever noticed how a mother knows her child is coming down with a fever before any symptoms appear? There's an invisible communication happening, a knowing that transcends the physical senses. The same phenomenon occurs between you and your wealth. Your money exists first in consciousness, then in form. Everything you see in the physical world is simply consciousness, pushed out, hardened imagination, if you will. And just like that mother's intuition, Your consciousness begins receiving signals from your wealth long before your bank account reflects it. Picture this. You're sitting in your favorite chair, and suddenly something shifts inside you. Not in your bank account, not in your job, but in the very fabric of your being. This is what I call living in the end. And when you truly enter this state, reality has no choice but to rearrange itself to match your inner conviction. Your imagination isn't just daydreaming. It's the creative force of the universe itself working through you. It's the same power that moves the planets, grows the trees, and beats your heart. And when you've successfully impressed your subconscious with the feeling of wealth, it begins speaking back to you in a language older than words. But here's what nobody tells you about these signs, and this might completely shock you. They're not signs that money is coming. They're proof that it's already here in the only place that matters, your consciousness. The first sign isn't what most people expect. It's not excitement or wild anticipation. It's the opposite. It's a profound quietness that settles over you like morning mist on a still lake. You wake up one day and realize you're no longer chasing money with that familiar desperation. The clawing need is gone. The midnight worry sessions have ended. The constant checking of your bank account, the mental calculations of bills and expenses, all of it simply stops. Not because you've given up, but because you've arrived at a place far more powerful than hope or wish. This isn't resignation. This is recognition. You've entered what I call the dwelling place of abundance. You're no longer trying to become wealthy. You simply are wealthy in consciousness. And consciousness is all there is. Think about it this way. Does a king beg for his crown? Does the ocean worry about being wet? When this deep peace settles over you, you've stopped begging for wealth and started wearing it in your mind. The outer world has no choice but to crown you with what you've already claimed within. I remember when this happened to me. I was sitting in my car after a particularly stressful day, bills piled on my passenger seat, and suddenly I just stopped. The worry lifted like fog. I didn't try to make it happened to me. I realized later that this was the moment I had truly accepted wealth in consciousness. Everything that followed was simply the outer world catching up to my inner reality. But this piece comes with a warning that most manifestation teachers won't tell you. When this stillness arrives, your ego might panic. It's used to the drama of lack, the familiar story of struggle. It might whisper, "You're giving up. You should be doing more." Don't listen. This piece isn't passivity, it's power. It's the power of knowing that the work is done in consciousness. And consciousness is where all creation begins. The Bible says, "Be still and know that I am God." In manifestation terms, this translates to, "Be still and know that I am wealth." When you can sit in this knowing without wavering, without needing to see immediate proof, you've mastered the first law of creation. Now, this next sign is so subtle that 99% of people dismiss it as just a good mood, but it's actually the most reliable proof that your manifestation is complete in consciousness. Have you ever found yourself smiling at absolutely nothing, walking lighter down the street, humming a tune you can't remember learning, laughing at jokes that aren't particularly funny? This causeless joy isn't random. It's your soul celebrating what it already knows to be true. Your inner being has received the wealth, and it's throwing a party while your physical eyes are still catching up. This is what I mean when I say, the inner man sees what the outer man has yet to experience. Let me share something profound with you. Emotion is the language of the subconscious mind. When you successfully impress your subconscious with an idea, really impress it, not just think about it, it responds with feeling, and when you've truly impressed it with wealth, it responds with the feeling of wealth, joy, lightness, celebration. This joy is different from happiness based on circumstances. Circumstantial happiness comes and goes with events. But this joy springs from the well of knowing. It's your deeper self reacting to what has already happened in the invisible realm, the only realm that truly matters. I've seen this countless times. A woman came to me once, desperate about her financial situation. For weeks she practiced living in the end, assuming the feeling of wealth. Then one morning, she called me laughing. "I don't know why," she said, but I woke up giggling. Nothing's changed in my bank account, but I feel like I've won the lottery. 3 weeks later, she received an unexpected inheritance from a distant relative she'd forgotten about. But here's the crucial part most people miss about this joy. When this causeless happiness bubbles up, don't analyze it. Don't question it. Don't let your logical mind talk you out of it with phrases like nothing's changed yet, or I'm just being foolish. Dance with it. Expand it. Let it fill every cell of your being. This joy is your wealth, announcing its arrival through the language of emotion. It's the feeling of wealth made manifest in consciousness. And remember, consciousness is the only reality. Everything else is just consciousness pushed out into form. The mystics understood this. They spoke of the peace that passeth understanding and joy unspeakable. They weren't talking about emotions based on circumstances. They were talking about the natural state of being when you're aligned with truth, and the truth is that you already are what you seek to become. Sign number 3 is when the night speaks in gold. Your subconscious mind never sleeps. It's working 24 hours a day, processing, creating, manifesting. And when it has truly accepted the impression of wealth, when you've successfully convinced it that you are wealthy, it begins to dream in the currency of abundance. You might find yourself dreaming of golden rivers flowing through your bedroom, vaults opening at your mere touch, revealing treasures beyond counting, checks with your name written in elegant script, amounts that make you gasp even in sleep, money raining from clear skies while you dance beneath it, arms outstretched. These aren't wishful fantasies or random neural firings. Your dream is showing you what you've successfully planted in the creative soil of your subconscious mind. And if you've been seeing repeating numbers like 1111 or 888 everywhere you look, you need to understand what this really means, because it's not what most numerology websites tell you. Numbers are the universe's way of nodding at you, confirming that you're walking in harmony with the creative law. But they're not causing your manifestation, they're reflecting it. When you see 1111, it's not the number creating rapid manifestation. It's your consciousness, aligned with wealth, being reflected back to you through the symbols you encounter. These numbers don't bring you money. Your assumption of wealth causes you to notice these numbers as a confirmation of what you've already accepted within. The number is a mirror, not a magic wand. I had a client who started seeing 777 everywhere. After weeks of assuming wealth, on receipts, clocks, license plates, page numbers, she asked me if this meant money was coming. I told her money isn't coming. Money is already here in consciousness. The numbers are just your outer world, keeping up with your inner reality. The subconscious speaks in symbols because it doesn't think in words like the conscious mind. It thinks in images, feelings, and impressions. When you dream of waterfalls, of gold coins, your subconscious is saying, I have received the impression of abundance. I am now creating from this blueprint. And there's a secret about these dream symbols that can supercharge your manifestation. When you wake from these wealth dreams, don't just dismiss them and rush into your day. Linger in the feeling they created. Let that dream joy permeate your waking consciousness. The dream was a gift from your subconscious, a preview of coming attractions. Honor it, expand it, carry that feeling into your day like a precious treasure. This is how you bridge the gap between the invisible and the visible. The dream shows you what exists in consciousness. Your job is to feel it real until it becomes real in form. This next sign is where most people make a critical mistake that stops their entire manifestation, and I'm going to show you exactly how to avoid it. Before the flood, there's always a trickle. Before the harvest, there's always the first fruit. Your wealth doesn't usually arrive in one dramatic moment. It seeps into your reality like dawn, gradually and then suddenly all at once. You might receive an unexpected refund in the mail, find $20 in an old jacket pocket, have someone unexpectedly pay for your coffee, get a discount at the exact moment you needed it most, receive a gift card from a friend who just thought of you. These aren't accidents. They're previews of a coming attraction. But here's where most people sabotage themselves. They see these small gifts and think, this isn't what I asked for. I wanted $1 million, not $20. The moment you judge the gift, you stop the flow. The moment you dismiss the small, you block the large. I taught you that the end contains the beginning, and the beginning contains the end. These small financial gifts are the beginning of your larger manifestation, trying to express itself. They're proof that the dam is cracking, that abundance is finding its way to you. Let me tell you about Sarah, one of my students. She had been visualizing $10,000 for months, with no results. Then she started finding coins everywhere, in her couch cushions, on sidewalks, in her car. Instead of celebrating, she complained. I'm manifesting pennies instead of thousands. I explained that she was actually manifesting perfectly. The pennies were evidence that money was beginning to flow to her. I told her to celebrate every coin as if it were $1,000 bill. She changed her attitude, and within 2 weeks, she received a bonus at work. Exactly $10,000. The pennies weren't her manifestation failing, they were her manifestation beginning. Here's the secret that can turn these small signs into an avalanche of abundance. Gratitude is the bridge between the invisible and the visible. When you receive these small financial gifts with the same joy you'd feel receiving millions, you're telling your subconscious mind, I am someone who receives money easily and joyfully. And what you consistently feel to be true, your world must reflect. Every drop belongs to the ocean you're calling forth. Celebrate the drops, and the ocean follows. This isn't just positive thinking. This is understanding how consciousness creates reality. The law doesn't distinguish between large and small. To consciousness, a penny and $1 million are the same thing. They're both expressions of the assumption, I am wealthy. When you can feel equally wealthy receiving a free coffee as you would receiving a lottery jackpot, you've mastered the feeling of wealth, and feeling is the secret. This next sign is the most powerful of all. And when it happens to you, you'll understand why I call it the pearl of great price. There comes a moment, quiet, often unexpected, when something profound shifts in your being. You're not hoping for wealth anymore. You're not even having faith in it. You simply know, with the same certainty that you know your own name, you know that you are wealthy. This knowing doesn't come from your logical mind with its evidence and proof. It comes from the same place your heartbeat comes from. Automatic, natural, undeniable. It's not something you think, it's something you are. When this knowing settles into your bones, doubt becomes literally impossible. Not because you're forcing positive thoughts, but because doubt would be as ridiculous as doubting that water is wet or that fire is hot. You've moved from wanting wealth to being wealth in consciousness. I remember the exact moment this happened to me. I was walking to my mailbox. The same walk I'd made thousands of times before. But something was different. I wasn't hoping to find a check or worrying about bills. I was just walking as a wealthy person walks, not performing wealth, not pretending wealth, but simply moving through the world as someone for whom money flows naturally and abundantly. It wasn't a thought. It was a recognition, like suddenly realizing you've been speaking a foreign language fluently without trying. The knowing was already there. I just finally noticed it. But this knowing comes with a test that separates the true manifestors from the wishful thinkers. When this knowing arrives, circumstances might not change immediately. In fact, they might seem to get worse for a moment, what I call the bridge of incidents. This is when many people lose faith. They think, if I really know I'm wealthy, why am I still getting bills? Why hasn't my bank account changed? But the knowing doesn't depend on circumstances. Circumstances depend on the knowing. When you truly know you are wealthy, not hope, not believe, but know, your outer world has no choice but to rearrange itself to match your inner conviction. This is why I say, do not be concerned with how it will happen. Your job is to know that it is happening. The how is not your department. The what is not your department. Your only job is to know and to persist in that knowing until it hardens into fact. The knowing is consciousness becoming aware of itself as what it desires to be. And consciousness is the only reality there is. This final sign will completely change how you see your entire world. Because once you understand this, you'll realize that nothing is ever really happening to you. When you've truly shifted in consciousness, when you've genuinely assumed the feeling of wealth, something magical begins to occur. The world around you starts reflecting your new inner state like a perfect mirror. Suddenly, everyone around you starts talking about money, but not in the way you used to hear it. Instead of complaints about lack, You hear stories of abundance. A coworker mentions getting an unexpected raise. A friend talks about a profitable investment. A stranger in line ahead of you discusses their financial windfall. You start seeing symbols of wealth everywhere. Luxury cars that somehow appear in your vision just when you need encouragement. Gold jewelry catching the light at just the right moment. Success stories appearing in your social media feed. Headlines about prosperity crossing your path at perfect timing. The world has become a mirror, reflecting back your inner state of abundance. This isn't coincidence, it's the law in action. As above, so below. As within, so without. Your consciousness has shifted, and your world is simply keeping up with who you've become. But here's what's truly profound about this sign. These things were always there. The wealthy conversations, the luxury cars, the success stories, they were always happening around you. But when you were operating from a consciousness of lack, you literally couldn't see them. Your awareness was filtered through the lens of scarcity. Now that you've shifted to a consciousness of abundance, you're tuned to a different frequency. You're receiving different signals from the same world. It's like changing the channel on a radio. You're not creating new radio waves. You're just receiving the ones that match your new frequency. But here's the part that will blow your mind about this mirroring effect. You're not just observing these reflections, you're actually calling them forth. Your consciousness of wealth is magnetizing these experiences, conversations, and symbols into your awareness. You're not a passive observer of reality, you're an active creator of it. When you overhear someone talking about their financial success, they're speaking your thoughts through their lips. When you see a billboard about financial freedom, it's your consciousness creating that perfect timing. When abundance starts showing up in your conversations, your entertainment, your daily encounters, it's because you've become abundant in consciousness first. This is the deepest secret. There is no outer world separate from your consciousness. Everything you experience is consciousness pushed out. Change consciousness, and you change experience. Change the inner, and the outer must follow. Now here's something crucial that most manifestation teachers won't tell you. And it might be the difference between your success and failure. Between the inner change and the outer manifestation, there's usually what I call the bridge of incidents. This is a series of seemingly natural events that lead to your manifestation. It might look like coincidence, luck, or just the right place at the right time, but it's actually your consciousness orchestrating reality. You might get a phone call from an old friend who offers you a business opportunity. A conversation with a stranger might lead to a job offer. You might feel compelled to take a different route to work and discover something that changes your financial situation. These aren't accidents. They're your assumption of wealth expressing itself through what appears to be natural circumstances. The key is to remain faithful to your assumption, even as these incidents unfold. Don't get caught up in trying to figure out how it's happening. Just trust that it is happening, because in consciousness, it already has happened. Remember, you don't get what you want in life. You get what you are. When you've truly assumed the feeling of wealth, when you've dwelt in that state until it feels as natural as your own skin, these signs will appear as naturally as flowers bloom in spring. Your job isn't to make the money come. Your job is to live as though it's already here. To think from wealth, not toward it. To assume the feeling of abundance until it becomes as automatic as breathing. This is what I mean by living from the end. You don't live hoping for wealth. You live as wealth. You don't act wealthy to get money. You act wealthy because in consciousness you are wealthy. And consciousness is the only reality. Now, here's the most important thing I can tell you about all of these signs. They're not signs that money is coming to you. They're proof that you've become someone to whom money comes naturally. They're evidence that you've shifted from the consciousness of lack to the consciousness of abundance. And that shift in consciousness is the manifestation. Everything else is just the outer world catching up. The final truth is this. The money you've been seeking has been seeking you just as passionately. It exists in consciousness, waiting for you to claim it, to assume it, to become it. These signs prove it's already found you. Now you just need to open the door by persisting in the assumption that you are wealthy. Trust the process. Honor the signs. Live in the end. Your wealth isn't coming, it's already here. speaking to you in the sacred language of consciousness. And consciousness is the only reality there is. The same power that spun the galaxies into existence, that orchestrates the dance of atoms and the rhythm of seasons, is the power that moves through your imagination. It's your power. It's you pushed out into infinite expression. Use it wisely. Use it boldly. Use it now. Because you are not just a manifester of wealth. You are wealth, seeking its own expression through the magnificent vessel of your consciousness. And that, my friend, is the greatest secret of all.
True manifestation requires reprogramming the subconscious mind. Many law of attraction teachers leave out this key aspect to manifestation. But the steps to this reprogramming process are actually quite simple. There's 3 steps in total: repetition, emotion, and theta brainwave states. Step 1. Repetition. Our subconscious mind is shaped by repeated experiences. Each time we think a thought or have an experience, our brain creates a neural pathway. Like well-worn paths through a forest, these pathways become our brain's default setting. This principle, known as Hebb's law, is the foundation of learning and habit formation. You can put this into action by writing down your desires and repeating them daily. As you repeat your affirmations, you're creating and strengthening these neural pathways, turning your desires into your subconscious mind's new default setting. Just like practicing an instrument or learning a new language, repetition imprints these affirmations deep into your subconscious. Step 2. Feeling and emotion. Our brain evolved to prioritize emotional experiences because they were crucial for our ancestors' survival. These emotionally charged experiences leave stronger imprints on our brains and minds. As you repeat your affirmations, engage your emotions. Imagine how you would feel if your desires were your reality. This strong emotional engagement helps prioritize your desires in your subconscious mind. Step 3. Theta brainwave states. This step requires practicing the first 2 steps while in a theta brainwave state. This is the state you're in just before sleep and just after waking, where your subconscious mind is most receptive. As you prepare to sleep, repeat your emotionally charged affirmations. Feel every word. Experience the emotions. Let them be the last thoughts and feelings as you drift into sleep. The theta brainwave state acts as a bridge to your subconscious, allowing these affirmations to take root and flourish. Remember, transformation doesn't happen overnight. Be patient with yourself. Trust the process. As you make this practice a part of your life, you will begin to notice subtle shifts, bringing you closer to your desires. With the power of repetition, emotion, and the theta brainwave state, you have the key to unlock your subconscious and manifest your desires.
My friends, tonight, I want to speak to you about something that has gripped the imagination of millions. Something that sends shivers down spines and fills hearts with an inexplicable dread. I want to speak to you about Friday the 13th. But before you dismiss this as mere superstition, before you wave your hand and say, Neville, surely you don't believe in such nonsense, I ask you to listen. Listen with that inner ear that hears not just words, but truth. For in understanding Friday the 13th, we unlock one of the most profound secrets of human consciousness, the secret of how beliefs become reality. You see, my friends, there is no such thing as a coincidence in this universe. Every date, every number, every symbol that captures the collective imagination of humanity does so because it contains within it a spiritual truth, a truth that speaks to the very core of our being. Tonight I will show you that Friday the 13th is not a day to be feared, but a day to be understood. It is a day that reveals the magnificent power of your own wonderful human imagination. But first, let me tell you a story, a true story that happened to me just last Friday the 13th. I was walking down Fifth Avenue in New York City. The streets were less crowded than usual, and I noticed something peculiar. People were walking differently. They were looking over their shoulders. They were avoiding ladders, stepping around black cats, and I could feel it, that thick, heavy atmosphere of collective fear. And then it struck me like lightning. I was witnessing the most powerful demonstration of human imagination at work. Here were thousands of people, all unknowingly participating in a massive exercise of creative visualization. They were imagining misfortune, visualizing bad luck, and feeling it so intensely that they were literally creating the very conditions they feared. My friends, this is the law. This is exactly how your imagination works every single day. What you persistently imagine, what you feel to be true, what you accept as real, this becomes your experience. Friday, the 13th, is simply humanity's greatest collective lesson in the power of assumption. But where did this all begin? Let me take you back to the true origins of this mystical date. The number 13 has been considered sacred since the dawn of civilization. There were 13 lunar cycles in a year. There were 13 members at the Last Supper. There are 13 stairs leading to the gallows. But here's what they don't tell you in the history books. 13 is the number of transformation, the number of death and rebirth, the number of the initiate who has passed through the 12 stages of spiritual development and emerged as the 13th, the master. And Friday was the day of Venus, the day of love and creativity, the day when the feminine principle was honored. It was considered the most powerful day for manifestation, because it was the day when the creative force of the universe was at its peak. So when we combine Friday with the 13th, we don't get a day of misfortune, we get the most powerful day for conscious creation. We get the day when the creative force of the universe aligns with the number of mastery and transformation. But here's the tragedy, my friends. Somewhere along the way, humanity forgot this truth. The knowledge became distorted. The sacred became feared. And instead of using this powerful day for conscious creation, we began to use it for unconscious creation, creating exactly what we feared. Now let me share with you the real secret of Friday the 13th. A secret that will transform your entire relationship with this date, and, more importantly, with your own creative power. Every Friday the 13th, you are being given a gift. You are being given a day when the collective unconscious of humanity is so focused, so concentrated, that the very atmosphere becomes charged with creative energy. It's like having access to a cosmic amplifier for your imagination. But you must know how to use it. You must understand that on this day, more than any other, your assumptions will crystallize into reality with lightning speed. This is why those who assume bad luck experience it so dramatically. This is why those who fear misfortune attract it so powerfully. The day is not cursed. The day is blessed with an abundance of creative power. Let me tell you about a man I knew who discovered this truth. His name was Robert, and he was a businessman who had always dreaded Friday the 13th. Every time this date appeared on the calendar, something would go wrong. His deals would fall through, his equipment would break down, his employees would call in sick. One day Robert came to me and said, "Neville, I don't know what to do. Friday the 13th is like a curse on my life." I said to him, "Robert, you have discovered the most powerful day for manifestation, and you're using it to create exactly what you don't want. What if, instead of fearing this day, you used it to consciously create what you do want?" Robert looked at me as if I had suggested he jump off the Brooklyn Bridge. But I continued, "The next Friday the 13th, I want you to do something different. I want you to spend the entire day in the feeling of your wish fulfilled. I want you to imagine your business thriving, your deals closing, your success flowing like a river. Feel it, live it, breathe it." "But Neville," he protested, "what if something goes wrong?" I smiled and said, "Robert, something has been going wrong every Friday the 13th for years. You've been unconsciously creating disasters. What if you consciously created miracles instead?" 3 months later, Robert called me. His voice was shaking with excitement. "Neville," he said, "you won't believe what happened. That Friday the 13th, I did exactly what you suggested. I spent the entire day feeling successful, feeling blessed, feeling grateful for all the good in my life. And by the end of the day, I had closed the biggest deal of my career. The client called me at 11:47 p.m., 13 minutes before midnight, and said yes to everything. My friends, this is not a coincidence. This is the law in operation. Robert had discovered that Friday the 13th was not his enemy. It was his greatest ally. It was the day when his imagination was supercharged, when his creative power was amplified beyond measure. But here's what I want you to understand. Every day is Friday the 13th for the person who knows how to use their imagination consciously. Every moment is charged with creative potential. Every assumption you make is an act of creation. The reason Friday the 13th has such power is because it reveals the truth that most people ignore. Your imagination is always working. Your assumptions are always creating. Your beliefs are always manifesting. Friday the 13th simply makes this process visible, because the collective focus amplifies the results. Now let me share with you the practical application of this knowledge. Let me show you how to use Friday the 13th and every day to consciously create the life you desire. First, you must understand that fear is just imagination focused on what you don't want. When you fear Friday the 13th, you are actually doing a very sophisticated form of creative visualization. You are imagining scenarios of misfortune, feeling the emotions of these scenarios, and thereby impressing your subconscious mind with the image of what you don't want. But imagination is neutral. It will create whatever you consistently imagine and feel to be true. So instead of imagining what you don't want, imagine what you do want. Instead of feeling afraid, feel grateful. Instead of expecting misfortune, expect miracles. Here's a specific technique I want you to use. The next time Friday the 13th appears on your calendar, I want you to treat it as your personal day of manifestation. I want you to wake up that morning and say to yourself, today is my day of miracles. Today my imagination is supercharged. Today I consciously create my reality. Then throughout the day, I want you to imagine yourself living in the reality you desire. If you want love, feel loved. If you want success, feel successful. If you want health, feel healthy. If you want abundance, feel abundant. Don't just think these thoughts. Feel these feelings. Live in these assumptions. Breathe in these realities. And here's the key. Don't watch for results. Don't look for signs. Don't anxiously check to see if it's working. Simply assume it is working. Assume your desires are already fulfilled. Assume you are already living in the reality you've imagined. Because, my friends, assumption is the most powerful force in the universe. When you assume something to be true, when you feel it to be real, when you live from that assumption, the entire universe conspires to make it so. This is why Friday the 13th is so powerful. It's a day when the collective unconscious is so focused that assumptions crystallize into reality almost immediately. It's like having a direct line to the creative power of the universe. But let me share with you an even deeper secret. The real reason Friday the 13th has such power is because it represents the ultimate spiritual truth: death and rebirth, transformation and renewal, the ending of one cycle and the beginning of another. Every Friday the 13th, you are being invited to die to your old self and be reborn as your new self. You are being invited to let go of your old assumptions and embrace new ones. You are being invited to step into a new version of reality. This is why the number 13 has always been associated with death in the tarot. Not physical death, but the death of the old self. And this is why Friday, the day of Venus, is the perfect day for this transformation. Because Venus represents the creative feminine principle that gives birth to new realities. So Friday the 13th is not a day of misfortune, it's a day of rebirth. It's a day when you can consciously choose to die to your old limitations and be reborn into your new possibilities. Think about it, my friends. What if every Friday, the 13th, instead of cowering in fear, you stood up and declared, "Today, I die to my old self and am reborn as the person I truly want to be"? What if you used this day to consciously assume a new identity, to step into a new version of yourself, to embrace a new reality? The transformation would be immediate. The results would be miraculous, because you would be working with the natural rhythm of the universe instead of against it. I remember a woman who came to me many years ago. She was terrified of Friday the 13th, because every time this date occurred, she would have a panic attack. She had convinced herself that she was cursed, that some terrible fate awaited her on these days. I explained to her that she was not cursed. She was blessed with an incredible sensitivity to the creative power of the universe. Her panic attacks were actually her unconscious mind's way of preparing for transformation. She was being called to die to her old self and be reborn as her new self. I taught her to reframe her experience. Instead of seeing her heightened sensitivity as a curse, I helped her see it as a gift. Instead of fearing transformation, I helped her embrace it. Instead of resisting the death of her old self, I helped her welcome the birth of her new self. The next Friday the 13th, instead of having a panic attack, she had a breakthrough. She realized that her fear of this date was actually her fear of her own power. She was afraid of how quickly her imagination could create reality. She was afraid of how powerfully her assumptions could manifest. Once she understood this, she began to use Friday the 13th as her personal day of conscious creation. She would spend these days imagining herself as the confident, successful, joyful person she wanted to be. And slowly but surely, she became that person. My friends, this is the real magic of Friday the 13th. It's not about luck or superstition. It's about understanding the incredible power of your own imagination and using it consciously to create the life you desire. Every Friday the 13th, you are being given a gift, a day when the veil between imagination and reality is at its thinnest, when your assumptions can manifest with lightning speed, when your creative power is amplified beyond measure. But wait, my friends, there is more. There are deeper mysteries hidden within this date that will astound you. Let me share with you some remarkable discoveries that will forever change how you see Friday the 13th. Did you know that Jesus Christ was crucified on a Friday and that he was the 13th person at the Last Supper? This was not coincidence. This was cosmic design. The crucifixion represents the ultimate act of conscious transformation. Jesus consciously chose to die to his human limitations and be reborn as divine consciousness. Friday the 13th is the anniversary of the greatest demonstration of conscious creation in human history. And here's something that will absolutely fascinate you. In the ancient mystery schools, the number 13 was the number of the master. There were 12 disciples and one master. There are 12 signs of the zodiac, and the 13th is the one who transcends them all. There are 12 hours on the clock, and the 13th hour is when time itself is transcended. The Templars knew this secret. They met in groups of 13 because they understood that 13 was the number of divine power. When they were arrested on Friday, October 13th, 1307, it wasn't because the date was unlucky. It was because the church feared their knowledge of how to consciously create reality. But here's what will truly amaze you. Modern science has discovered that the human body replaces every cell every 13 weeks. Every 13 weeks, you literally have a new body. Every 13 weeks, you are physically reborn. Your body knows the secret of Friday the 13th. It knows that 13 is the number of renewal and transformation. And in the field of quantum physics, scientists have discovered that there are 13 dimensions of reality. We live in the first 3 dimensions, but there are 10 more dimensions where infinite possibilities exist. Friday the 13th is the day when the veil between these dimensions is thinnest, when you can most easily access these higher realms of possibility. Let me tell you about a woman named Sarah who discovered this truth in the most remarkable way. Sarah was an artist who had been struggling for years to make a living from her work. Every Friday the 13th, she would receive rejection letters, her paintings would be damaged, or her exhibitions would be cancelled. But Sarah was different from most people. Instead of accepting defeat, she became curious. She began to notice that the intensity of her experiences on Friday the 13th was far greater than on any other day. Her rejections weren't just rejections. They were dramatic, story-worthy rejections. Her setbacks weren't just setbacks. They were spectacular, almost cinematic setbacks. Then it hit her like a lightning bolt. If her negative experiences were amplified on Friday the 13th, what would happen if she amplified her positive experiences instead? The next Friday the 13th, Sarah did something extraordinary. She spent the entire day painting a masterpiece. Not just any painting, but a painting of her ideal life. She painted herself in a beautiful studio, surrounded by collectors admiring her work. She painted herself receiving a check for $1 million. She painted herself being interviewed by art magazines. But here's the key. As she painted, she didn't just hope these things would happen. She felt them happening. She felt the excitement of the collectors, the weight of the check in her hand, the pride of being recognized for her talent. That very evening, as she was putting the finishing touches on her painting, there was a knock at her door. It was a wealthy collector who had gotten lost looking for another artist's studio. He saw Sarah's painting through the window and was mesmerized. Not only did he buy that painting, but he commissioned her to create a series of 13 paintings for his private collection. The commission was worth exactly $1 million. My friends, this is not a fairy tale. This is the law of assumption in its most dramatic form. Sarah had unconsciously discovered that Friday the 13th was her personal amplifier. Whatever she assumed on this day would manifest with extraordinary speed and intensity. Now let me address something that many of you might be thinking. But Neville, what if I've had bad experiences on Friday the 13th? What if I've been unconsciously creating negative experiences for years? My friends, this is actually wonderful news. If you've been able to create dramatic negative experiences on Friday the 13th, it proves that you have incredible creative power. It proves that your imagination is extraordinarily potent. It proves that you are naturally sensitive to the amplified energy of this day. All you need to do is redirect that power. All you need to do is change the direction of your assumption. All you need to do is use the same creative force that has been working against you to work for you. Remember, there is no such thing as a bad manifester. There are only people who are unconsciously manifesting what they don't want, instead of consciously manifesting what they do want. If you can manifest dramatically on Friday the 13th, even if what you've manifested is unwanted, you have a gift that most people would envy. Let me tell you about a man named Thomas, who came to me after experiencing 20 years of disasters on Friday the 13th. Car accidents, job losses, relationship breakups, financial catastrophes. They all seem to happen on this date. I said to him, Thomas, you are one of the most powerful manifestors I have ever met. You have been unconsciously using Friday the 13th as your personal creation day for 2 decades. The consistency of your results proves that you have an extraordinary connection to the creative force of the universe. Thomas looked at me as if I had lost my mind. How can you call disasters a gift? He asked. I explained to him that the same creative force that had been producing his disasters could produce his miracles. The same imagination that had been creating his problems could create his solutions. The same assumptive power that had been working against him could work for him. The very next Friday the 13th, Thomas consciously assumed that it would be the most wonderful day of his life. He assumed that everything would go perfectly, that opportunities would present themselves, that blessings would flow to him from every direction. By the end of that day, Thomas had received a job offer that doubled his salary, met the woman who would become his wife, and found out that he had inherited a house from a distant relative he didn't even know existed. The same creative power that had been producing disasters for 20 years produced miracles in a single day. This brings me to a profound truth about Friday the 13th that I want you to understand. This date is not inherently good or bad, lucky or unlucky, blessed or cursed. It is simply a day of amplified creative power. It is a day when the consequences of your assumptions are accelerated and intensified. If you assume good, you get extraordinary good. If you assume bad, you get extraordinary bad. If you assume nothing special, you get extraordinary ordinary. The day responds to your assumption with supernatural precision. This is why I say that Friday the 13th is humanity's greatest teacher. It is showing us, in the most dramatic way possible, that we are always creating our reality through our assumptions. It is proving to us that there is no such thing as fate, No such thing as luck. No such thing as circumstance beyond our control. We are always at choice. We are always creating. We are always assuming our reality into existence. Friday the 13th simply makes this truth impossible to ignore. And now, my friends, let me share with you the ultimate secret of Friday the 13th. A secret so profound that it will change your entire understanding of reality itself. The real reason Friday the 13th has such power is because it represents the 13th hour, the hour that doesn't exist on the clock, the hour that exists only in consciousness, the hour when linear time dissolves and eternal time begins. In the 13th hour, past, present, and future become one. In the 13th hour, all possibilities exist simultaneously. In the 13th hour, you are not bound by the limitations of sequential time. You can reach into the future and pull your desires into the present moment. Every Friday the 13th, you are being invited to enter the 13th hour of consciousness. You are being invited to step outside of linear time and into eternal time. You are being invited to live not from the perspective of someone who is trying to create something, but from the perspective of someone who has already created it. This is the secret of instant manifestation. This is how miracles happen. This is how the impossible becomes possible. In the 13th hour, there is no waiting for your good. In the 13th hour, there is no process of manifestation. There is only the eternal now, where all your desires already exist in perfect form. When you truly understand this, when you can truly enter the 13th hour of consciousness, Friday the 13th becomes the most magical day of your life. It becomes the day when you remember who you really are. Not a limited human being, trying to create a better life, but an unlimited spiritual being experiencing the joy of conscious creation. So I leave you with this challenge, my friends, this coming Friday the 13th. Dare to enter the 13th hour. Dare to step outside of time and into eternity. Dare to live from the assumption you are already everything you desire to be. Use it wisely. Use it consciously. Use it to create the life you were born to live. Because that, my friends, is the real meaning of Friday the 13th. Not a day of fear, but a day of power. Not a day of misfortune, but a day of miracles. Not a day to be endured, but a day to be embraced as the doorway to your highest possibilities. Go now and create consciously. Assume your good and live from your wish fulfilled, for you are the operant power of God. And Friday the 13th is simply another opportunity to prove it. Perhaps the most powerful opportunity of all. Remember, you are not here to be ordinary. You are here to be extraordinary. And Friday the 13th is your invitation to step into that extraordinary life. My dear friends, what I'm about to share with you will challenge everything you believe about chance, luck, and the nature of reality itself. In the span of just 2 weeks, I won the lottery not once, not twice, but 3 times. First $1,500, then $2 million, and finally $135 million. Before you dismiss this as impossible coincidence, let me tell you something that will shake you to your core. There was no luck involved. What happened was the inevitable result of a law as reliable as gravity itself. Let me paint the scene for you. It began with what seemed like a small win, just $1,500. I had been practicing what I teach you all, living in the end. For months, I had been assuming the feeling of being financially free, not hoping for it, not wishing for it, but living from that assumption as though it were already my reality. When I won that first $1,500, I recognized it for what it truly was. Not a lucky break, but the first physical manifestation of an assumption I had been holding faithfully in consciousness. I wasn't purchasing lottery tickets with desperate hope. I was simply collecting what was already mine. You see, in consciousness, I had already won. The physical world was merely catching up to reflect my inner state. But here's where it gets interesting. And this is something most people will never understand about manifestation. 7 days later, I won $2 million. The progression wasn't random. It was the law demonstrating itself in escalating fashion. But the universe wasn't finished showing me the power of unwavering assumption. Exactly 1 week after the $2 million win, 14 days from that first $1,500, I won again. $135 million this time. 3 wins in 2 weeks. The mathematical probability, astronomically impossible. But I'm here to tell you that probability has nothing to do with it. The secret I'm about to reveal has been hidden in plain sight for centuries, and once you grasp it, you'll never look at your circumstances the same way again. Your words are creative commands. Every word you speak is a command to your subconscious mind, not a request, a command. Your subconscious doesn't argue. It doesn't question whether you deserve what you're commanding. It simply accepts and begins to rearrange your world to match your words. Most people walk through life unconsciously cursing themselves. They say, I never have enough money, and their subconscious obediently ensures they never have enough. They declare, I'm always struggling, and struggle becomes their faithful companion. But when you understand that your words are creative forces, you begin to choose them with the same care a sculptor chooses his chisel strokes. Each word is either building your desired reality or destroying it. Before my 3 consecutive wins, I had developed the habit of speaking as if wealth was already mine. I would say, I am so grateful that money flows to me effortlessly. Not I hope money will flow to me, but money flows to me, present tense, accomplished fact. With each win, first the $1,500, then the $2 million, then the $135 million, I felt no surprise. Only confirmation. Each victory was simply consciousness proving to me that assumption, when held with unwavering faith, must manifest in the physical world. I discovered something profound. Whatever you assume to be true, regardless of current evidence, will eventually manifest as your reality. This isn't positive thinking. This is understanding how consciousness creates reality. What I'm about to tell you next is the exact mental technique I used, and it's so simple that most people dismiss it as too easy to work. For months before my winning streak began, every night before sleep, I would enter what I call the state akin to sleep, that drowsy, receptive state between waking and sleeping. In this state, I would assume the feeling of financial freedom, not the future feeling, but the present feeling. I would imagine checking my bank balance and seeing millions. I would feel the security, the freedom, the joy of knowing I could help my family, travel anywhere, live without financial concern. But here's the crucial part. I wouldn't think this will happen someday. I would think this is my reality. That's what I'm teaching you too. To learn to live in the end, to assume that your desire is already fulfilled, and to maintain that assumption regardless of current circumstances. This isn't about pretending or lying to yourself. It's about understanding that consciousness is the only reality, and everything else is simply its reflection. The months leading up to my winning streak, I lived as a wealthy man who hadn't yet seen his wealth reflected in the physical world. I carried myself differently. I thought differently. I spoke differently. Not because I was pretending, but because in consciousness, in the only reality that matters, I was wealthy. The $1,500 win was consciousness giving me a small sign. The $2 million was the law gaining momentum. The $135 million was the full flowering of an assumption held with absolute faith. But here's where most people make the fatal mistake that keeps them trapped in lack forever. The mistake of seeking evidence. The greatest obstacle to manifestation is the need to see evidence before believing. Most people say, I'll believe it when I see it. But the law works in reverse. You'll see it when you believe it. After assuming my wealth for months, there were many times when my physical circumstances seemed to contradict my assumption. Bank statements showed the same modest amounts. Bills arrived as usual. Everything in the physical world suggested I was the same person I'd always been. But I had learned that the physical world is always the last to know. It's simply a shadow cast by consciousness. Shadows don't create, they only reflect. Your outer world is the shadow of your inner world. So when physical evidence seemed to contradict my assumption, I didn't waver, even between wins, after the $1,500, but before the $2 million, after the $2 million, but before the $135 million, I held firm to what I knew to be true in consciousness. This is what I mean when I say, faith is loyalty to the unseen reality. And your subconscious mind learns through repetition. Every thought you think repeatedly becomes a groove in consciousness, and your life flows along these grooves like water follows a riverbed. I made it a daily practice to repeat my assumption. I am abundantly wealthy. Money flows to me from multiple sources. I am financially free. I repeated these statements not as empty affirmations, but as statements of fact. The same way you might say, my name is Jim, or I live at Station Road. What happened next will show you exactly why most people's affirmations fail, and the one crucial element that makes all the difference. The key was feeling. Feeling is the secret. You can repeat words all day, but if they don't carry the feeling of truth, they're just noise. When I affirmed my wealth, I felt wealthy. I felt the relief, the security, the freedom that comes with financial abundance. This feeling tone is what impresses the subconscious. Your subconscious doesn't respond to words, it responds to the emotional conviction behind those words. One of the most powerful techniques I employed was gratitude in advance. Instead of waiting to be grateful after receiving my wealth, I was grateful for it while it was still invisible to the physical senses. Every morning, I would say, thank you for my financial abundance. Thank you that money comes to me easily and effortlessly. Thank you for my freedom to live without financial worry. This wasn't hoping or wishing. This was thanking for something I knew was already mine. Gratitude in advance is the ultimate expression of faith. It says, I'm so confident in the reality of my assumption that I'm already grateful for its fulfillment. Here's a paradox that confuses many. The more desperately you want something, the longer it takes to manifest. Why? Because desperation implies lack, and the law can only give you more of what you predominantly feel. After setting my assumption in motion, I practiced what I call the Sabbath. I rested from my labor. I didn't obsessively check lottery results or frantically buy more tickets. I had done the inner work. Now I trusted the law to do the outer work. The morning of my first win, something extraordinary happened that revealed the true nature of how manifestation works. I went about my normal routine with complete calm. There was no anxiety, no desperate hoping, no need to make anything happen. I moved through the day, knowing that everything was unfolding perfectly according to the assumption I had been faithfully maintaining. When the first $1,500 came, I felt a quiet, of course. It wasn't shock or disbelief, but recognition, like remembering something I had temporarily forgotten rather than discovering something new. The $2 million that followed a week later carried the same feeling, but amplified. I was watching consciousness demonstrate its creative power in escalating fashion. And when the final win came, $135 million, I understood that consciousness had been proving the law to me step by step. 3 wins in 14 days isn't luck, it's law. It's the physical world conforming to an assumption that had been held with unwavering faith, building momentum with each manifestation. My dear friends, I share this story not to boast, but to prove to you that the law is real, reliable, and available to everyone. You don't need to win the lottery 3 times to prove it to yourself. You can start with smaller demonstrations and work your way up, just as consciousness demonstrated to me with $1,500, then $2 million, then $135 million. Choose something you desire, not something impossible, but something that would bring you joy and prove the law to you. Assume it's already yours. Feel grateful for it. Live from that assumption regardless of current circumstances. And most importantly, persist in that assumption until it hardens into fact. Remember, you are not a victim of circumstances, you are the creator of them. The same power that allowed me to win over $137 million in just 2 weeks lives within you. It's not a special gift reserved for a chosen few. It's the fundamental nature of consciousness itself. You are consciousness. You are the operant power in your world. Everything you see around you, every building, every invention, every work of art, began as an assumption in someone's mind. They assumed it was possible, held that assumption with feeling, and watched it manifest in the physical world. Your assumptions of today are your world of tomorrow. Choose them wisely, assume the best, live in the end, and watch as your world transforms to match the magnificence of your imagination. The law knows no favorites. The law of assumption doesn't care about your background, your education, your current circumstances, or your past failures. It only responds to your current assumptions about yourself and your world. I've seen people transform their entire lives by simply changing what they assume to be true about themselves. Health conditions disappear when people assume perfect health. Relationships heal when people assume love and harmony. Businesses flourish when owners assume success and abundance. The law is impersonal and impartial. It works for everyone who works with it. Your only requirement is faith, not faith in some external power, but faith in the creative power of your own consciousness. Today, right now, you can begin to assume yourself to be the person you wish to be. You can assume your desires are already fulfilled. You can thank God for what is yours in consciousness, even before it appears in the world of shadows. Just as I held my assumption faithfully through 3 escalating wins over 14 days. This is not a theory to be debated. It is a law to be demonstrated. Go now and prove it to yourself. Assume the feeling of your wish fulfilled. Persist in that assumption, and watch as your world rearranges itself to confirm what you have dared to assume. Your greatest days are not behind you. They are ahead of you, waiting for you to claim them through the power of assumption. The same consciousness that brought me more than $100 million in 2 weeks is the consciousness you possess right now. Use it wisely. Use it boldly. Use it with unwavering faith. Thank you, and may your assumptions manifest with speed and grace. What if I told you that the very moment you change how you see yourself, your entire financial reality must shift? What if the wealth you've been seeking has been waiting for you to simply claim it? Listen carefully, because what I'm about to share will challenge everything you've been taught about money, success, and your own power. The secret to attracting wealth has nothing to do with your circumstances, your education, or even your current bank balance. It begins with a fundamental shift, not in what you do, but in what you assume to be true about yourself right now. Wealth is not something you pursue. It is something you recognize as already present within your consciousness. The moment you stop looking outside yourself for permission to be wealthy, the moment you stop waiting for conditions to change, you begin to activate forces that respond with absolute precision to your inner assumptions. Here's what most people get wrong. They believe their imagination is just wishful thinking. But imagination is the creative workshop of the universe, expressing itself through you. Whatever you consistently imagine yourself to be, whatever you feel yourself to truly possess, that becomes your lived reality. Tonight, before you sleep, I want you to do something revolutionary. Close your eyes and enter completely into the feeling of already having financial freedom. Don't imagine how it happened. That's not your concern. Simply feel what it would be like to have more than enough. Feel the relief, the joy, the absolute certainty that all your needs are met. The world around you has no choice but to conform to this inner state, because consciousness is the only reality. Everything you see in the physical world is simply the outpicturing of someone's consciousness. But here's where it gets interesting. Your word carries creative power. Every conversation you have with yourself, every assumption you make about money, every feeling you entertain about your worthiness, these are not just thoughts. They are commands issued to the creative principle of life. If you find yourself saying, "I never have enough," or "money is hard to come by," you are literally commanding your subconscious to create experiences that match those words. But the moment you begin to speak from abundance, to think from wealth, to feel from having rather than wanting, everything changes. The technique is simple but profound. Create one short scene that implies your financial desire is already fulfilled. Perhaps you're opening a letter confirming your financial freedom, or checking your bank account and seeing the numbers you desire. But here's the crucial part. You must feel it as real. Feel the texture of that moment, the weight lifting from your shoulders, the deep satisfaction of knowing you are provided for. This feeling must become your dwelling place. Return to it often throughout your day. When doubt creeps in, and it will, don't fight it. Simply redirect your attention back to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. You see, most people have this backwards. They wait for wealth to feel wealthy. But the law works in reverse. You must feel wealthy for wealth to appear. You must assume abundance for abundance to manifest. Your imagination is not idle fantasy. It is the very womb of reality. Everything in your world first existed as an image in consciousness. The device you're using right now, the building you're in, the very clothes on your back, all of it was imagined before it was made real. You are constantly using this creative power, whether you realize it or not. Every time you picture the worst, dwell on problems, or rehearse failure in your mind, you are imagining just as creatively as when you envision success. The difference is in the direction of your attention. Stop worshiping facts. The facts of your current financial situation are nothing more than frozen shadows of previous assumptions. They do not define what's possible for you. The moment you realize this, you become free to choose a new story. Close your eyes right now and ask yourself, what would I see if my desire were already fulfilled? How would I feel? What would I be doing? Step into that scene completely. Touch the details, hear the sounds, smell the air, make it vivid and alive. The more real it becomes in your imagination, the more natural it will become in your physical experience. You don't need to know how it will happen. That's not your job. Your only task is to dwell in the end, to live from the assumption that your desire is already fulfilled. Your internal dialogue shapes everything. The stories you tell yourself about who you are, what you deserve, and what's possible. These are not empty thoughts. They are creative forces molding your experience. Every word you speak inwardly, especially when charged with emotion, plants a seed in your subconscious mind. Listen to yourself throughout the day. Are your thoughts filled with complaint and lack, or saturated with gratitude and expectancy? You cannot afford careless speech, not even as a joke. Your subconscious mind takes you at your word and begins immediately to create circumstances that match your dominant inner conversation. Instead of "I'll never get out of this," train yourself to say "everything is working in my favor." Instead of "I can't afford it," affirm "I am always provided for." These aren't just positive affirmations. They are declarations of truth spoken from the consciousness of abundance. Remember, feeling is the secret. Words without feeling are powerless, but words infused with conviction and emotion take deep root. When you speak inwardly, speak with the feeling that what you say is already true. Let your tone be one of calm assurance, the voice of someone who knows. The power to transform your financial reality is not hidden somewhere outside of you. It's not locked away in a course, a book, or a mentor. It exists within your consciousness right now. You are not waiting on life. Life is waiting on you to awaken to what you truly are. The same creative force that moves the stars and governs the tides lives in you as you. When you recognize that consciousness is the only reality, you stop chasing the world and start commanding it. You no longer seek power because you realize you are the power. You were not born to struggle financially. That was learned, accepted, without question. But beneath that conditioning is your true nature, creative, abundant, unlimited. The outer world may have taught you scarcity, but your inner world knows no lack. The source of your wealth is not a job, a client, or an economy. Those are merely channels. The real source is your state of consciousness. Hold abundance in mind, and you must experience abundance in form. This is not attraction. This is expression. You are radiating your inner state outward. Turn inward now. Still your mind. Withdraw your attention from the outer clamor and become aware of your thoughts, your feelings, your assumptions. They are not meaningless. They are the blueprint of your reality. Begin this moment to assume you are already the person who lives abundantly. Not someday, now. Feel the reality of being provided for. Feel the certainty that what you need is already prepared. Let go of the question how and enter the state of it is done. When you consistently dwell in this consciousness, Outer changes become inevitable, not because you force them, but because you have aligned with a higher truth. You are using the gift of imagination not to escape life, but to shape it according to your highest vision. Do not look to others for permission. Do not wait for circumstances to become favorable. The moment you shift your inner state, the moment you say within yourself, I am, you set the creative law in motion. You already possess this power. It has always been yours. All that is required is your conscious decision to use it, to believe that what you seek already exists within you, to walk in the awareness that your world is not happening to you, but flowing from you. Wealth begins in consciousness, because consciousness is where everything begins, not in a bank account or business strategy. Those are effects, not causes. The root of lasting prosperity lies in the invisible realm of thought, feeling, and identity. You cannot harvest abundance until you have first planted abundance in your mind. Your consciousness is the soil, and what grows must reflect what has been sown. True wealth flows from inner awareness, how you see yourself, what you believe about your worthiness, what you assume to be true about your relationship with abundance itself. When your inner state reflects prosperity, the outer world must harmonize with it. Feel into the state of wealth now, not as something you hope to achieve someday, but as something you are claiming in this moment. This is not pretense. It is alignment with the truth that everything already exists in infinite potential, waiting for your recognition. The common error is looking outward and reacting to appearances. But what you see is the result of past states of consciousness. To break the cycle, you must act from the unseen, trust the invisible. You are not subject to appearances unless you accept them as final. Ask yourself, what do I truly believe about wealth, about money, about my worthiness to receive? These beliefs are living energies, shaping your experience. If limiting beliefs exist, you need not force them away. Simply observe without judgment, and choose a new assumption. Begin affirming, wealth flows to me with ease. I am worthy of abundance. Life supports me fully. Say it until it feels natural, until it becomes part of who you know yourself to be. You are not merely repeating words. You are stepping into a new reality, shifting your inner atmosphere. That shift, though invisible at first, begins to reconfigure your world. Opportunities appear, resources align, people respond to your changed energy. The world reflects not what you want, but what you have become within. Wealth is not about accumulation. It is about expression. It is the free flow of life through you. And that flow begins when you no longer see yourself as separate from the source. The source is not outside you. It is you, expressing as your own awakened consciousness. Do not wait for tomorrow. Begin now to live from abundance. Not when conditions improve, but now, because now is all there is. And now is where your creative power lives. You are not here to chase wealth. You are here to awaken to it. The riches you seek arise from the depths of your own consciousness. As you feel it real, imagine vividly, speak with authority, and dwell in the awareness of already having. Life must respond. The law is beautifully simple. As within, so without. Stop looking to the world for confirmation and become the source of it. Live from the end, think from abundance, and carry the quiet confidence of one who knows it is already done. Everything you need to attract wealth exists within your consciousness right now, waiting not to be earned, but to be claimed. This is your invitation to claim it. But let me share with you something profound. There are those who will tell you that wanting wealth is somehow unspiritual, that desiring abundance makes you greedy or selfish. This is the greatest lie ever perpetuated upon humanity. You are here to express the fullness of life, and abundance in all its forms is your divine birthright. The universe is abundant by nature. Look around you, countless stars, infinite space, endless creativity flowing through every living thing. Scarcity is not a natural law. It is a learned limitation. You were born into an abundant universe, and that same abundance seeks to express itself through you in every area of your life. When you truly understand this, You realize that by claiming your wealth, you are not taking from others. You are adding to the total sum of abundance in the world. Your prosperity creates opportunities for others. Your success inspires possibilities. Your wealth becomes a channel through which more good can flow into the world. Now, let me tell you something that may surprise you. The reason most people struggle with money is not because they don't work hard enough or lack opportunity. It's because they have unconsciously accepted a story about themselves that keeps them locked in limitation. They have identified with being someone who never has enough or has to struggle for everything. Identity is everything. You cannot rise above the person you believe yourself to be. If deep down you believe you are someone who is destined to struggle financially, then no amount of effort, no strategy, no opportunity will permanently change your circumstances. You might experience temporary improvement, but you will inevitably return to the level that matches your self-concept. This is why the work must begin within. You must first become wealthy in consciousness before you can become wealthy in form. You must know yourself as someone who naturally attracts abundance, who effortlessly receives, who is worthy of the very best life has to offer. Let me give you a technique that will accelerate this transformation. I call it living in the end. Instead of working toward your goal, you must learn to work from it. Instead of trying to become wealthy, you must assume you already are, and think, feel, and act from that assumption. Every morning when you wake up, before you check your phone, before you think about your problems, before you engage with the world, spend 10 minutes in the consciousness of wealth. Feel what it would be like to wake up, knowing that money is never a concern for you. Feel the peace, the freedom, the joy of someone who is completely financially secure. Throughout your day, make decisions from this consciousness. When you're choosing what to eat, what to wear, how to spend your time, choose as someone who knows they are abundant. This doesn't mean being reckless with money. It means moving through the world with the confidence and peace of someone who knows they are provided for. And here's what will happen. And this might seem impossible to you now, but I promise you it is the natural result of this practice. As you consistently live from this assumption, your external world will begin to rearrange itself to match your internal state. Opportunities you couldn't have predicted will appear. People will be drawn to help you. Resources will flow to you in the most unexpected ways. This is not magic. This is law, the law of consciousness. What you are conscious of being, you must become in your experience. It has never failed, and it cannot fail, because consciousness is the substance from which all things are made. But here's where most people stumble. They try this technique for a few days or a few weeks, and when they don't see immediate external changes, they give up. They return to their old ways of thinking, their old conversations with themselves, their old emotional patterns, and then they wonder why nothing changed. The truth is, changes in consciousness often precede changes in circumstances by what seems like a long time, but is actually the perfect time. There is a gestation period for every seed of desire you plant in consciousness. Just as a farmer doesn't dig up his seeds every day to see if they're growing, you must not constantly check the external world to see if your assumption is working. Your only job is to remain faithful to the assumption, to return again and again to the feeling of wealth, the consciousness of abundance, the knowing that you are provided for. The external world is not your concern. That is the domain of the creative principle within you, which knows exactly how to bring about the fulfillment of your assumption. Now let me tell you about the power of gratitude in this process. Gratitude is not something you do after you receive what you want. Gratitude is what opens the door for you to receive it. When you feel genuinely grateful for the wealth that is yours in consciousness, you are acknowledging its reality. You are saying yes to it with your entire being. Every night before you sleep, make it a practice to feel grateful for your abundance. Not grateful that it's coming, grateful that it's here. Feel thankful for the financial freedom you possess, for the security you enjoy, for the generosity you can express. This gratitude, when it comes from a deep knowing of already having, is one of the most powerful attracting forces in the universe. But I want to address something that creates confusion for many people. They ask, if I'm supposed to feel wealthy now, Does that mean I should spend money I don't have? Should I act irresponsibly with my finances? The answer is no. Living from the consciousness of wealth means making wise decisions from a place of inner security, not making foolish decisions from a place of pretense. When you truly feel wealthy within, you naturally make choices that honor and protect your resources. You don't spend from fear or lack, but neither do you spend from a need to prove something. You move with the wisdom and discernment of someone who understands the value of what they have and knows more is always available. The consciousness of wealth includes the consciousness of wisdom. It includes knowing when to spend, when to save, when to invest, when to give. These decisions flow naturally from the inner knowing of abundance, not from anxiety about scarcity. Let me share with you one of the most important principles you'll ever learn about attracting wealth. You must become comfortable receiving. So many people are comfortable giving, comfortable working, comfortable struggling, but deeply uncomfortable receiving. They feel guilty when good things come to them, as if they don't deserve it or haven't earned it. This discomfort with receiving creates a block in the flow of abundance. It's like trying to fill a cup while simultaneously poking holes in the bottom. No matter how much flows in, it flows right back out because you don't believe you should have it. Practice receiving in small ways. When someone offers to pay for your coffee, let them. When someone gives you a compliment, simply say thank you instead of deflecting it. When unexpected money comes to you, even if it's just finding $1 on the street, receive it with joy and gratitude. As you become more comfortable receiving small things, you expand your capacity to receive larger things. The universe is always seeking to give to you, but it can only give what you are willing and able to receive. Here's another crucial point that will transform your relationship with money. Stop making money more important than it is, and stop making it less important than it is. Money is simply a symbol, a tool, a means of exchange. It has no power except what you give it. It is neither good nor evil, it simply is. When you make money your God, when you think it will solve all your problems and make you happy, you give it a power it doesn't possess. When you demonize money, when you think it's the root of all evil, or that spiritual people shouldn't want it, you push away something that could be a beautiful tool for good in your life. The healthy relationship with money is to see it as a wonderful servant, but a terrible master. When you are conscious of your true worth, when you know that your value comes from who you are, rather than what you have, then money becomes a delightful addition to your life, rather than a desperate necessity. From this consciousness, money flows more easily, because you're not grasping for it out of fear. You're not repelling it out of guilt. You're simply allowing it to flow as naturally as breath, taking what you need and sharing what you can. Now let me address the question that's probably arising in your mind. How long does this take? The answer depends entirely on how completely you can accept the new story about yourself and how consistently you can live from it. Some people experience dramatic shifts within days or weeks of truly embracing their identity as abundant beings. Others take months or even years to fully transform their consciousness and see corresponding changes in their external world. The timing is not what matters. The certainty of the outcome is what matters. What I can promise you is this: if you persist in the consciousness of wealth, if you refuse to return to the old story of lack and limitation, if you make the feeling of abundance your dwelling place, then the external change is not just possible, it is inevitable. The challenge is that your current circumstances will try to pull you back into the old story. Your bank account, your bills, your current income, they will all seem to argue against your new assumption. This is where faith comes in, not blind faith, but faith rooted in understanding. You must understand that what you see with your physical eyes is the result of past consciousness. It is old news. It is the fruit of seeds you planted in consciousness, weeks, months, or years ago. It has nothing to do with what you're planting now, and everything to do with what you planted then. When you truly grasp this, you can look at your current financial situation with complete peace, knowing that it's simply the outpicturing of your former state of consciousness. You don't need to fight it or feel bad about it. You simply need to remain faithful to your new assumption and allow time for the new harvest to appear. This is why I teach people to live in the end. Don't live in the struggle toward your goal. Live as if the goal is already achieved. Don't think about becoming wealthy. Think as someone who is wealthy. Don't hope for abundance. Assume abundance. Every thought you think, every word you speak, every feeling you entertain is either reinforcing your new story or returning you to your old one. There is no neutral ground. You are always creating, always choosing, always assuming something about yourself and your life. Make sure you are conscious of what you're choosing. Make sure your thoughts, words, and feelings align with the person you are becoming, rather than the person you used to be. Let me share with you a powerful evening practice that will accelerate your transformation. Each night before you fall asleep, review your day, not to judge or criticize, but to notice. When did you think from wealth today? When did you think from lack? When did you feel abundant? When did you feel limited? Don't judge what you notice. Simply observe with the loving awareness of someone who is committed to growth. Then, gently revise any moments when you fell back into the old story. In your imagination, replay those moments from your new identity. See yourself responding to challenges from abundance rather than fear, making decisions from wisdom rather than worry. This practice of revision is incredibly powerful because it literally rewrites your emotional memory of the day. It helps establish your new identity more firmly and prevents the old patterns from taking root. As you fall asleep, do so in the consciousness of wealth. Feel grateful for the abundance that is yours. Feel peaceful about your financial future. Feel excited about the opportunities that are coming. Let these feelings carry you into sleep, and let them be the first feelings you experience when you wake. Sleep is a particularly powerful time for impression, because your conscious mind is quieted and your subconscious is most receptive. The feelings and assumptions you carry into sleep are impressed deeply into your subconscious, and your subconscious works throughout the night to create circumstances that match those impressions. Many people have experienced sudden windfalls, unexpected opportunities, or breakthrough ideas that came to them in dreams or upon waking. This is not coincidence. This is the natural result of falling asleep in the consciousness of their fulfilled desire. Now, as you begin to apply these principles, you may notice resistance from family members, friends, or colleagues. They may make comments about your changing attitude toward money. They may try to pull you back into conversations about lack and limitation. They may even criticize your new way of thinking as unrealistic or impractical. This resistance is natural and actually a sign that you're changing. The people around you have become accustomed to you being a certain way, and your transformation challenges their own beliefs about what's possible. Don't take their resistance personally, and don't let it deter you from your path. You don't need to convince anyone else of these truths. You don't need to defend your new way of thinking or prove that it works. Your only responsibility is to live from your new assumption and let your results speak for themselves. In fact, I recommend that you keep your inner work private, at least in the beginning. Share your new consciousness through your being, rather than your words. Let people wonder what's different about you. Let them be inspired by your peace, your confidence, your joy. As your external world begins to change, as abundance starts flowing into your life in tangible ways, then you can share these principles with those who are genuinely interested. But don't try to convert the skeptical or convince the doubtful. Save your energy for your own transformation. Remember, you are not trying to manipulate the universe or trick life into giving you what you want. You are simply aligning with the truth of your being. You are remembering who you really are beneath all the conditioning and limitations you've accepted. Wealth is your natural state. Abundance is your birthright. Joy, peace, freedom, and prosperity are not rewards you earn through suffering. They are expressions of your true nature that emerge when you stop blocking them with false beliefs about yourself. The moment you truly accept this, the moment you stop arguing for your limitations and start assuming your possibilities, your whole world changes. Not just your financial world, your entire experience of life becomes richer, fuller, more beautiful. You begin to see opportunities where others see obstacles. You begin to feel excited about your future where others feel anxious. You begin to move through the world with a confidence and peace that draws good things to you like a magnet. This is not about becoming someone you're not. It's about becoming who you've always been beneath the layers of doubt and fear. It's about remembering your true identity as a creative, powerful, abundant being who is here to express the fullness of life. So I leave you with this. Everything you need is already within you. Every tool, every technique, every principle I've shared is simply a way of helping you remember and activate what you already possess. You are not lacking anything. You are not broken or incomplete. You are perfect, whole, and complete right now. And your abundance is simply the natural expression of that perfection. Begin today. Begin now. Assume you are wealthy, and let that assumption guide every thought, every feeling, every action. Live as if it's already true, because in the realm of consciousness, where all things are created, it already is. Your wealth is not coming to you, it's coming through you. You are not attracting abundance, you are expressing it. You are not trying to become prosperous, you are recognizing the prosperity that has always been your true nature. This is your moment. This is your invitation. This is your time to step into the fullness of who you really are and claim the abundance that has always been yours. The only question is, will you accept it? Everything you need to attract wealth exists within your consciousness right now, waiting not to be earned, but to be claimed. This is your invitation to claim it.